in a while, and we'll do different things. And basically, we'll see a shift deeper and deeper into this cosmology that is the New Age. But I thought what we would do this morning and this evening is, first of all, try to take a look scientifically and realistically at ourselves. What the heck are you? Think about that. And no matter how often I think of that, it presents a problem. It's a challenging thing. What are you? And what are you doing here? You just happened, your mother and father had a sexual union, and here you're here? For what? Maybe they weren't even planning it. Maybe they went out, had a good time down in Atlantic City, got a little gas, came back, had some sex, and here you are. What are you supposed to do? All that you're supposed to do is try to avoid getting sick and dying, and you can't avoid either of them. You get sick and you die. Nobody has made it. Nobody's figured that one out. And so there must be something. Because you want to get into, and I know we get into occult stuff, mystical stuff, start studying all of these things. But before you can understand strange things of the universe, you have to understand the strange things of yourself. Because they are very strange. And what can we all agree that we all have in common? At least most of us. It's called a brain. Okay? You have a brain. In your head there is one. And you've never seen it. You have never seen it, but it is there. It is inside of your head. And that brain, and Albert, you can jump up if you have any. That brain that is inside of your head is made up of chemical compositions. Okay? Chemical compositions. That's what it's made of. And that's in the middle of your skull. On top of your shoulders is this thing that is called the brain. Inside of that, between the skull part, there is nothing spiritual, nothing religious, nothing occult. All that is in there are chemical compositions. That's all. There is no Jesus in you. There is no God in you. There is no devils, demons. They're only chemical compositions. There is absolutely nothing in there but chemical compositions. Now, within that electrical or that chemical composition is an electrical stimulus. All right. Electrical stimulus that goes along with the chemical compositions. And when these two things come together, the chemical compositions inside of your head and the electrical stimulus, what do? They make a phenomena that you conceive as reality. It's very interesting, but this is true. And you go through all this stuff. Oh, Jesus, come into my heart. God dwells in you. The kingdom of God is within you. But actually, if you get right down to the nitty-gritty, all it is chemical stuff and electrical stimulus inside of you. And it comes together and creates something that makes you appear or gives you the appearance of reality. There is a molecular structure. Is this true? These are small particles of matter. And they integrate. So we have to put this little small matter in here, okay? Called the molecular. Now these small pieces of matter integrate with the electrical stimulus and the chemical compositions, and they create and form something called DNA. DNA. And that's what goes on inside of you. It doesn't make any difference. To me this is the most important thing in the world to do, to come into a church and to abandon all of this bizarre stuff about religion and get down to the nitty-gritty of what the heck is this about? What is going on? Because this is all it's about. It's about chemical compositions, matter, electrical stimulus that creates something that's called the DNA. So these combinations now are inside of you. All these compositions and all this stuff is roaring inside of your head, and they are continuously affected by something called cosmic rays. You have chemical compositions in your head, you have electrical stimulus in your head, you have this molecular structure in your head, you have DNA, and constantly you're being affected by cosmic rays. And cosmic rays are life forms that are outside but are constantly passing through your body and your chemical compositions and your electrical and your molecular combinations. Constantly these cosmic rays are moving in and out of your body. Is this right? I'm not telling you anything. This is not in the Bible. You don't have to become... this is the kind of stuff you go to Ocean County College or Georgian Court or high school or wherever. This is where truth is taught. But this is what is actually happening inside of you. The cosmic rays travel from the sun to the earth in 8 minutes and pass through every cell of your body. Not one cell in your body is missed by the cosmic rays. And I want to tell you a scientific fact, and then I want you to read something in the Bible as we start to take a look at this. And tonight it really gets interesting when we cross over to the other side and look at the point of death, because it affects everyone. It affects you in your family, it affects you as a person, it affects you with your animals, it affects everything. Every moment of your life, every single moment of your life, you are exposed to a continuous rain of cosmic radiation. And where does this come from? It comes from stars. That's where it comes from. It doesn't make any difference whether your church doesn't want you to believe that. That's like your church saying don't believe in February. It comes anyhow. It doesn't require. This doesn't require your belief. That's a fact. That's where this stuff comes from. Stars and constellations put off all of this radiation. It rains down out of the universe and it hits you right smack in the head. And there's nothing you can do to avoid it. And these are influences. Cosmic radiation from constellations in the galaxies which affect the structure of the brain. Let me recite that again. Cosmic radiation from constellations in the galaxies which affect the structure of the brain. There is no possible way that anyone, no matter who, could say this isn't true, because it is true. There is no possible way. I mean, you can take a leaf of a tree and see I forget what they call it, the radiation or how it affects the leaf. In fact, if a leaf falls on your car, it'll make a print and all this kind of business. I mean, there is this radiation, this is electrical stimulus, the movement of this radiation through the plants and so forth and so on causes the growth and the this is an absolute fact. Now, if I tell you cosmic radiation from constellations in the galaxy affect the structure of your brain, then I say, take the little Bible that you have in your hand and see if there's anything in this little Bible that says, I know or I have said something that is true. Go to page 459. Because, see, the point is, it doesn't make any difference whether you come here. It doesn't make any difference whether, I'm a nut or, you're bored, or it doesn't make any difference. You've still got to live in this. So even if if somebody looks at me and says, this guy is nuts, I have to tell you that. How can I tell you this story? Frank Lafferty, some of you don't know Frank. Frank is a good friend of ours, and he very seldom comes, but his heart is in this place. Frank is kind of like a professional gambler down at Atlantic City, and it's a long story about Frank. But he was in a bar very close to here the other night. And let me just say this. Somebody came up to him and made a remark about this church. And Frank had just had enough. And so he turned and with his left hand grabbed the person by the throat and lifted the person out of the chair. And the last thing the person was seen running out the door. I only tell you that because it seems we get involved in everything, no matter where. And you know, and Frank was saying to me last night, he says, you know, no matter what they think of you, they know who you are.
Yeah, right.
Everybody knows.
That's important.
Well, I says, all right. But the point is they don't know from the standpoint of coming into this room what we're talking about. And all I am talking about to you sitting here today is I am not saying that you should believe me. I am not only oracle. I have only come together with you to say to you, think about this. All right? Just think about the things that I'm saying to you. And if what I'm saying to you has any merit in it, then go to the library, look up some books, study it, and get deeper involved in it. We just said that cosmic radiation from constellations in the galaxy affect the structure of the brain. In Job chapter 38 on page 459, Job chapter 38 and verse 31, okay? What does it say? Job chapter 38 and verse 31. It says, can you bind the sweet influence of Pleiades? Do you see that? Can you bind the sweet? Well, what is Pleiades? Pleiades is a constellation. Can you bind that influence? Now, it isn't a question that I asked. I didn't say to you, can you disrupt that influence? It says it in the Bible. It says it in Job chapter 38 and verse 31. Can you bind the influence of the Pleiades? You live on the planet Earth. You are subjected to radiation from all of these cosmic galaxies. And the Bible's asking you, can you bind that influence? Look what the very next line is. Can you loose the bands of Orion? Did you know that there was any effect on the human brain from Pleiades? Did you know there was any effect on the human brain from Orion? Well, the Bible says that there is, and it says, what can you do about it? Right. And the point being that there is something you can do about it, and the only thing that you can do about it, and the only thing that you should do about it, is begin to understand the need for, as Christ said, the meditation. Look what it says. Look at the very next line. Can you bring forth Mazzaroth? How many of you know in here what the word Mazzaroth means? M-A-Z-Z-A-R-O-T-H. Okay. It means the 12 signs of the zodiac. It's in the Bible. And it says, can you bring forth Mazzaroth? And see, can you do anything? Can you make changes? You can't make changes in the ordinance of the heavens. You cannot make changes in the ordinance of the galaxy. There's nothing that you or I can do about it. Cosmic radiation affecting your brain, making you feel the way you do, programming you in your mother's womb with a cosmic brain or a sign possible. Who can say? Who's to say no? Who's to say? But the point is, it is important to try to come to grips with the fact of reality. There is not a Jesus in you. There is not an angel in you. There is not a devil in you. There is no demon in you. There is chemical compositions in you, there are electrical stimulus in you, there are molecular structures in you, they are influenced by cosmic rays. And what these scriptures are trying to tell you to do is how to live on a planet in the middle of this galaxy, how to live, how to condition yourself, how to operate the mind that you have within yourself so that you can survive, so that you can move forward, so that you can have a life. Now let me just show you something. Inside of your head, we've talked about the chemical compositions, the electrical stimulus, and so forth. There is no pictures inside of your brain. There is no sound inside of your brain. But if I was to say to you to close your eyes for a moment, and then maybe just, Elvis Presley, he's a pretty famous, just close your eyes for a moment and listen and see if you can hear Elvis Presley singing inside of you. You can't. How is it possible? Because there is no sound inside. You can only hear with your ears. But you're hearing the voice of Elvis. If I was to say to you, even say, listen, hear inside your mother's voice. Close your eyes, listen to your mother. Your father. Instantly you can hear. You can hear the tone of voice, and yet, how is it possible? You're hearing without ears. Here, close your eyes. Picture a house that you lived in when you were a little child. There it is. Where'd it come from? You're seeing without an eye. You're listening without an ear, because all of these things are done in chemical compositions. All of these things are done by electricity. All of these things are done in a way. Look, when you have a television set, if you bring a television set and put it on a table and you plug it in, put little rabbit ears on it, okay. You take electricity from the outside that powers the TV, and then the television has transistors and diodes and circuits and microchips and so forth, and it interprets the different parts of the ether, and then all of a sudden there's picture and sound. That television is not picking up a picture, okay, out of the wall. The television is picking up a picture from inside of the room. Inside of the room, while you're sitting in this room right here, there are horses running through here, there are airplanes going through here, there are wrestlers here, there are people singing and dancing in here, there are people all going through this, right here, right in this room. Look at it. Can't you see them? See the horses? Say, well, he's crazy. There's no horse. But if I was to take a television set, if I was to take something that is capable of achieving the frequency that these things are on as they're going through this room, instantly you could see them. Instantly. They're all over the place. And that's the problem. And you cannot see the things that you should see because you're operating at a frequency that is too low. When they talk about, let me tell you something right now. When you hear this religious stuff about the Most High God, what you're really hearing is about the Most High frequency. Okay? And that's what's being said. That's exactly what's being said. And if you can get yourself to the point of moving to that frequency, you will get yourself to the point of being able to communicate with this essence that's called God. The brain is nourished by glucose and oxygen. It functions in its duty by the energy from the soul, the sun. Look, you know what's an amazing thing to me, Albert? If you were to listen inside of your chest, you'll hear something going. What keeps it going? What is keeping it going? If you take a clock, you'll hear the same thing, right? Now, you've either got two things. You wind it up, or you hook it up to the power. It's got to be connected to some source of power for that clock to go like that. Now, some of you do get wound up, but I don't think really that's what's keeping you going. You are connected to an electrical energy. You are connected to an energy, to an electrical energy. Okay, and that electrical energy, it is what's causing you to actually exist. It's a power, and you can call it by myriads of religious names. But basically, it is a power. Now, the activities that take place in the brain are recorded on a body of microwaves. And what you do in this body of microwaves, where the activities are recorded, you call spirit. Instantly, you can pull anything you want. You can pull an incident that happened when you were a child. You can pull an incident that happened last week. It's all in a bank. Your brain has 120 million nerve cells, Albert. Is that right? Each one has 16,000 neighboring cells, and you use 10% of them. Use 10% of them. And that's why you're told to tithe the 10% that you do use. Do you know the most important thing in the world is you as an individual, to be the individual that you are, to be the unique, special person that you are. But most of us have been so afraid and have been so conditioned by religion that we're so frightened to be the individual that we have allowed ourselves to be consumed by religious organizations, groups, and institutions, and have lost the meaning of our own personality and our own life. So what you think you see and what you think you hear are electrical impulses from among the neurons of the brain, providing a system of communication to the program that is uniquely you. So you see things. And you know, it's an interesting thing. I remember the time we read that story. Some people see things differently than other people do. Same thing. Some people can see a mountain with a cloud upon it and the darkness of it, and a foreboding of something very evil. Others can see it's something very mystical. Others can see it's something very tranquil. Depends. See? It depends on your... So everything, you hear things. You react to things differently. You're going to react to something differently. The same thing that's said to you, one person is going to react to it differently than another person. Because each one of us are uniquely individual. So your brain then is an evaluation mechanism that interprets various frequencies and waves and cosmic rays that we're talking about according to the way it is programmed at birth, and it is programmed at birth. Now think. This is what I want you to think about. We got to this point, since we've got to this point. What would you see if your brain interpreted frequencies and waves that at present you cannot reach? Oh, what am I talking about? Just think of the indications of that. Let's say this is you. It's a TV set. You're a TV set. Just give me, for just for now, you're a TV set. Okay? You have channels 2 to 13. Okay? That's what your TV set has. You have channels 2 to 13. Some preacher has come up here and told you about Larry King on CNN. There's no such thing. And so you search through 2 to 13 and you never find it. No matter how you turn the dial, no matter how you pray, no matter how you lay hands on it, no matter what television set you take to what temple or what church or what denomination, you'll never see Larry King between 2 to 13. Doesn't exist there. What do you have to do? You have to connect this thing to a different source, and you have to leave the frequencies of 2 to 13 and go to a higher frequency in order to see it. It's exact. Yes, there are things that exist that you can't see. Yes, there are things that exist that you can't hear. And yes, when you talk about them, the people up there on the street will say you're nuts, or you're a cult, you're into all of this kind of crap, because their television only goes from 2 to 13. But when you get connected to the power and you can raise that power above channel 13 within you, then you'll touch the power. Then you'll see the thing. But you still won't get them to believe it, because remember, their television set only goes to channel 13. That's the point. That's the point. Look at page 932. And this is basically what I'm talking about. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2, and in verse 9, the Apostle Paul, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9, the Apostle Paul is talking about this very thing. And you're looking on page 932. Page 932. The Apostle Paul is talking about this very thing. What does he say? 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9, page 932. As it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, neither has entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for them that love him. You haven't seen it. They haven't seen it. They have no idea. They have never heard it. And when you do see it, when you plug your TV, and when your TV is taking you up into ultra-high frequencies, they say you're crazy. Oh, you couldn't see such a thing. Yes, there is no such thing. Stay away from that. Let me show you something. When you are plugged in, when you are able to see and to hear, like I'm talking about here, then you'll understand things. Go to page 796. In page 796, the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 19. Okay. And we're winding this down. Jesus says something, huh? Yeah, 796. Matthew chapter 19. And in verse 12. Jesus is talking about eunuchs. Okay? What are eunuchs? Eunuchs of the day were not all people who were castrated. Eunuchs of that day were also people that you'd call today gay, homosexual. And he makes a statement that it's very difficult for an average person in the church to hear or to understand. He says in Matthew chapter 19, verse 12, there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb. And there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves kings of men. He's just saying there were some that were born that way from their mother's womb. Where do I part company with Christianity? I part company with Christianity when I say, if Jesus said it, you act on it. If he said it, you do it. If he said it, you believe it. And if he said there were some that are born that way from their mother's womb, then you heap no guilt on anybody because he said it. Stay. And this is what he said. And this is interesting what he said. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. Because most of them are at 2 to 13 and they don't understand. On page 787 in Matthew chapter 11, verse 15, Jesus makes another statement, and you could turn there if you want, or you don't have to, either way you want to go with it. And he's talking about something else. He says, he that has ears to hear, let him hear. In other words, you've got to be plugged into this. And you can't get plugged into it by reading it. You can't get plugged into it by listening to somebody. You've got to plug yourself into a higher frequency through your meditation. Now remember what we said a minute ago. We're just almost done. What is spirit? Activities recorded on a body of microwaves. How do you touch that? And let me show you the instructions from Jesus himself in the Bible as how you do this. It's very simple. It doesn't require you to give any money. It doesn't require you to join any church. It doesn't require you to read any Bible. It simply requires you to do something very, very simple. On page 781 in Matthew chapter 6, Jesus gives you the instructions of exactly what you have to do if you want to move into this sphere. He says in Matthew chapter 6, verse 22, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light. And Jesus Christ has instructed you with the ancient occult practice of practicing the single eye. In other words, meditate. Get into peace with yourself. Get into a communion with God with yourself. And one last one, where Jesus is instructing the teachers of the Bible and the lawyers of the Bible, in page 847, Luke chapter 11. Page 847, Luke chapter 11. And here's a key to you. And you say, well, gee, I don't know how to... I want to be able to get above channel 13. I want to be able to commune with the stars. I want to be able to get in on what's going on here, the evolution of the world. I want to be able to get in with nature. I want to be able to speak to the dolphins. I want to be able to do all of these things. But, what's the key to all of this? What do I do? Well, he spoke, he came down, and whatever he was, or wherever he came from, or however he spoke, this voice spoke to the people, the lawyers who were given the law of the Bible, and he turns around in Luke chapter 11 on page 847, Luke 11:52, and he says, woe unto you lawyers, you people who are making up the rules and regulations, you have taken away the key of knowledge, you entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in, you hindered. How clear does it have to be? I don't make this stuff up. I told you what he said. He says you take away the key of knowledge because you don't enter within yourself. The kingdom is within you. Within you, not within a church. Within you, not within the Pope. Within you, not within Billy Graham. Within you, not within a preacher. Within you, not within a rabbi. Within you. And this same Christos, this same Yeshua, this same Krishna said to you, hey, the things that I do, you can do better than me. Because he expected you to. He didn't expect you to grovel and sign a page and say what kind of a sinner you are, or sing a song about how a wretch you are. He expected you to take up the challenge and say, I am going to light that within me. I am going to plug into that. I'm going to raise that to that ultra high frequency. But you're now limited to 10%. Do you want to tell you something? 10%. Get this. The universal television set of channels capacity for the human brain probably is about 7,000 channels. You use 10. What's on channel 6,987? I don't know. I can't get that high. Yes, you can. When you reach the most high frequency, then you, this is the way. And it requires you to work at it. It requires you to, you know something? Just think of something here. We know for a fact, Albert, you're a scientist, cosmic rays are providing the info. They're coming down. It's not the cosmic rays' fault. It's your receiver that's incapable of picking up the signal. Huh? If you can't get Larry King, it's not your television's fault. It's your fault because you're not getting the equipment necessary to make it able to reach to a higher frequency. You got to give the 10%. It says the 10% is the Lord's. And that doesn't mean your money. That means yourself. So then not only then you can receive higher frequencies, which are peace and which are love and which are healing, but now this is the good part. Here, what do you have? You know what you have on the side of your head? Little holes there? Right, ears, receivers, right? Receivers. So that when I'm telling you, when you plug into this high frequency, you can receive it. But you know what you got sticking here? A transmitter. That's the good part, Ursula. Not only can you receive it, but after you receive it, you can retransmit it. You are a repeater station. Do you know that? Go on the parkway, you drive down the parkway, and have these big towers, you see them all the way down, and these big things hanging off these sides of these big towers. You know what? They're repeaters. They're repeaters so that some state trooper way up in Mawa can talk to some state trooper in Cape May, and his voice hits down here and it gets picked up, and it's amplified, and it goes down here and it gets amplified. So right away he can, you know, and the repeaters, and that's what they do. And that's exactly it. So if I get hit by this cosmic rays and I become enlightened, and then I become a repeater, and it goes, and you share. This is what's happening to this world. This is what's got to happen to the world. And that's what's so beautiful about this. Watch. Just go with me real quick, and then you'll be out of here and you can go back to whatever you did. Whatever that was. Whatever you were doing. Mark chapter 16. Page 829, okay? Mark chapter 16. Now I want to show you something. And I want you to understand, because I want you to plug into this frequency. I want you to be touched by this frequency. I want you to get rid of that old black and white TV set you get, and I want you to hook up to a new ultra high frequency TV set in living color, and I want you to plug it in, and I want you to rev those dials up as high as they go, and I want you to see what you see, because this is what Jesus said. Now watch what he said. Mark 16:17. And these signs shall follow them that believe in my name. Shall they cast out devils? They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents and so forth. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. Now, I want to show you something. To lay hands on the sick has nothing to do with hands. Oh, I'm not taking away massage. I'm not taking away Reiki. I'm not taking away chiropractors. God forbid. Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in the reference that is given right at this particular point. Okay? Because not all of you are chiropractors. Not all of you are Reiki specialists. Not all of you can do these different things. Okay? Some of you can, some of you don't. But there is something that everybody can do. Every single person can lay hands on the sick in this way. Look, go to page 979. And then page 979 in the book of Hebrews, Hebrews chapter 6. This is what the Apostle Paul says. Okay? And look what he says. And what he says is very interesting. Leaving the principles, Hebrews 6:1, leaving the principles of the doctrine of Christ, let us go on to perfection, not laying again the foundation of repentance and of faith, of the doctrine of baptism, and of laying on of hands. Don't do it anymore. Because why? That's a symbol. How do you lay hands? You lay hands by the energy that pours forth from you, that you have received from this universe, that you have received through this molecular structure, this cosmic influence, and all of the stuff that you've received. When you reach that frequency, you receive this energy, and the energy flows from you. If you never touch somebody, you can lay hands on somebody in San Francisco sitting here in Forked River. They'll say, oh, well, I don't know. That's 3,000 miles. There's 7,000 channels. It's 3,000 miles. Pick up a phone and call somebody in San Francisco and you say hello. You know what instantly they say? Hello, back. It doesn't take an hour. It doesn't take 10 seconds. It's instant. How does your voice travel from here to San Francisco instantly? But it does. So laying on of hands in perfection means transmitting the energy of higher frequencies. I'm going to do one last thing and you're gone. Or I'm gone. Listen to me and then we're done here. The waves that we're talking about printed on your cosmic laser jet computer in here correspond to your specific brain code. Huh? Your brain code. What I'm saying is, if your code is 168LKV72493X2P. A cosmic thing comes down. And Lori goes berserk. Because all of a sudden Lori says, I don't know, I got this funny feeling. And everybody else said, well, I didn't get anything. Because you're not 168LKV7, that's her. They'll say, well, you know, that's a little far-fetched. That's why I don't want you to join this. There's nobody joins this church. Because I don't want you all becoming like me. See? And the point is, that's why I don't want you to join any church. Because I don't want you to become, I want you to be you. Because you have a unique code. And when that cosmic message comes, it is looking for that particular code. And if it's Lori's, it's coming to her. And so that's why a lot of times when we give advice to people, we don't understand that we may be advising them contrary to what is being given to them from above. How do I know that? Can I prove it? Can I prove that you have a unique cosmic code in your brain? Yes, I can. And this is the last scripture, page 623. 623. The last one. I want you to look at Jeremiah. Look at Jeremiah chapter 1. Before I formed you in the belly, I knew you. And before you came out of the womb, 5. Before I formed you in the belly, I knew you. And before you came out of the womb, I sanctified you. And I ordained you. Who did he know? The guy's name wasn't Jeremiah. No, it was 168LKV72493X2P. And 168LKV72493X2P entered into the womb and bore the strange name as Jeremiah. And when God looked down and saw this Jeremiah walking down there, he said, hey, isn't that 168LK7? He says, send him a little cosmic. See, these signals are available to someone who could develop a device to touch these frequencies and decode them. You could see your whole life on a screen. They're there. Tonight we're going to continue this and we get into the question of the other side. And it really gets even more interesting. I hope that you found this interesting. A good way to start your new year. A little, little different. A little interesting. Okay, thanks. We'll see you. Bye-bye.